Angela, welcome back to Fox Face Off. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee has announced that she wants to be City of Houston's next mayor. She's announced her campaign, she's running, and many are excited. And I also believe that she has a significant, terrific chance of becoming Houston's next mayor. And I'm proud to see that strong, beautiful black woman stand up and desire to be the first black female to ever be the mayor of the city of Houston. I encourage the sister to run, and I wish her Godspeed.
Quanell, I got 3 words for you, all right? Must I die? Must I die, Quanell? I actually am very excited about Sheila Jackson Lee running for mayor, but not for the reasons you might think, because Sheila Jackson Lee is certainly one of the most incompetent and career politicians we have ever seen. In Washington, D.C., for example, she's been running this district for 28 years. She's done absolutely nothing for the people of her district. And in fact, she is known as one of the most horrible bosses to work for in Washington, D.C. And I find it very interesting that her staff is majority black and her district is majority black and brown. But again, doesn't really seem to like black and brown people considering how she treats her staff. I love this. It's going to be great. And bring it on, Sheila.
You know, it's amazing that you would sit here and say such things, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Sister Sheila has done significant great for her district. She's done significant greatly things for the city of Houston, and she's even helped those who don't even look like her. Her district is majority minority, and she is a strong representation and voice for those who are the voiceless and don't have a voice. I look forward to her running. The problem is that Caucasian women such as yourself, you ultra right-wing conservative women, you can't stand a strong, intelligent, vibrant black woman standing up boldly saying, I want to lead the 4th largest city in America. You might not like it, but it's God's time that a black female become the mayor of the city of Houston, and I applaud her run, and whether women like you don't like it or not, it's going to be what it is.
Look, man, I mean, Sheila Jackson Lee knows about the Democrat plantation. She keeps her constituents on the Democrat plantation. There's a reason that black men only make up 5% of the population, but yet are 50% of the prison population.
And that ain't got nothing to do with Sheila Jackson Lee.
Oh, it certainly does.
That's because of wicked racist white people who are judges, federal judges, prosecutors, and corrupt law enforcement officers who target black men. Don't you dare try to put that on Sheila Jackson Lee. That's a white racist people in the judicial system who like to hide black men.
Listen, man, I know this is your shtick. I know that this is what you have to do, man, but here's the deal. Democrat policies are what have created the Democrat plantation, the playground to prison pipeline.
When it comes to black
Sheila
people,
Jackson Lee is all about.
That plantation goes both ways, Republican and Democratic. So don't pretend like the only racists against us are in one party.
Go, Sheila, go.
Stay strong, sister, and run.
Please.
There is selective outrage in the sports world. The female basketball team for LSU won the national championship of women's basketball, the NCAA, for the first time in LSU's history. But one of the prominent players on LSU, a black female, took her hand and was taunting one of the white female players for the opposing team. Many in the sports world condemned the sister for being unsportsmanlike. Many in the sports world were angry that she didn't show more dignity and respect on the court after winning the championship. But they did not show that selective outrage when the white girl, 48 hours, did the same exact thing when she won the game to a black female basketball player from the opposing team. No one said that she was wrong. No one said she should apologize. No one said she was disrespectful. They were talking about how great of a competitor she was and how passionate she is for the game of basketball. She has the heart of a champion. But when the black girl was winning and she won and did the same thing back to her, all of a sudden now she's disrespecting the integrity of the game.
Look, man, the demand for racism far out exceeds the supply of racism. And I think this is speaking to a larger cultural issue, because we have the Democrats and the media, same difference, that are constantly pushing this idea that whites are racist against black. But in reality, what we're seeing is a spike in anti-white racism. We've got kids, little white kids in Ohio being forced to bow down to Black Lives Matter and then getting the crap beat out of them. We have little black kids getting the crap beat out of them on school buses every day. And we have teachers telling little black kids, telling white kids that they need to be the slaves to little black kids. We have Democrats and woke institutions of learning, having segregated graduation ceremonies and segregated dorm rooms. This is anathema to what Martin Luther King Jr. wanted, to judge people based on content of character. And so this is a larger cultural issue, Quanell.
Ms. Box, let me say this. The cultural problem of racism, discriminatory practices, and oppression in America did not start with black people. We were the victims of it. And now white people want to show and point out incidents of selective racism against them. And I say that problem was created by white supremacy in America. I'm not for any white person being mistreated, but I'll be damned I'll allow those in this country to try to make the victims the perpetrators of the crime now. This is a case of chickens coming home to roost.
Oh, please.
If the white girl was right, the black girl was right. If the white girl was wrong, the black girl was wrong. But don't show selective outrage to condemn the black basketball player and not the white for doing the same exact thing.
Listen, it's unsportsmanlike conduct, regardless of what race it is. But again, the larger issue now is that we've got a society that is telling anybody that is white that they are oppressors and that black people are victims. Yes.
I'm sorry, Angela.
No, you're not going to cut me off. You're not going to cut me off.
This society is a product of what the white man created.
I'll tell you what, when Democrats stop running cities and school districts, you let me know and we'll see if anything changes.
It's not about Democrats and Republicans.
Please.
It's about right and wrong.
It's about liberal versus conservative.
Charles, another Republican crazy crackpot is putting a bill before the House, pushing the idea of allowing the voters in Texas to determine whether they secede from the Union. On the surface, I don't like it. I think it's a racist agenda, racist idea to make Texas what it's always been, for white people, by white people, of white people. That's why you want the masses of the voters to decide if Texas has the right to secede from the Union, taking us back to the Civil War era when Texas wanted to do it then, but they lost that battle, they lost that war as one of the southern states who wanted to secede from the Union. But Charles, let me say this. Depending on what the platform is, I would hold and reserve judgment until I see what's in the platform. If they decide seceding from the Union would put God back into every school in Texas, put God back into every athletic event where you can still pray at athletic events, pray in school, I'd be interested. If they're going to decide to end sexual drag queen reading hour, heterosexual reading hour, homosexual reading hour, if they're going to end all of that for our children and just let it be reading hour of appropriate context in books, I'm with that. If they're going to stop allowing our children to read books about two men having sex and these 5 and 6 year olds checking these books out about two men having sex, that's going to be taken out of Texas, I'd be interested. But I'm not interested if it's a racist agenda and at the root of it, it's a racist idea to keep Texas what it once was.
Well, Texas is now, we live in Houston, the most diverse large city in America, and Texas is an incredibly diverse state. So you've kind of lost me with your initial point that this was an idea to just allow racism to fester. I didn't see anything talking about throwing people of indigenous, Latin, or African descent or Asian descent out of this country. And I didn't see anything suggesting that anyone should be stripped of rights. You also seem to mistake Texas history. We began as an independent nation that then joined the United States. So it wasn't just it's not downstream from the Civil War, which I agree was disgusting, and it was done to attempt to perpetrate slavery. But at the end of the day, Texas is being driven by forces that believe that we would be better if we were alone. Now, I disagree with that idea, but I'm interested in your take if we could return God. Which God are you talking about, Quanell?
There's only one, brother.
Well,
there's only but one.
So you're of the Muslim faith, right?
That's right.
So we should enforce the Muslim religion in all Texans?
I didn't say that. I said God.
Well, I'm asking
because,
you.
see, God is the author of righteousness. Man is the father of religion. The nature of every human being is to obey its creator. I mean the creator of all the faiths, the creator of all human beings. God does not have to have a religious title in school, but the nature and the principles of God that undergird every religion can be applied in school, not religious ethics.
But there are tremendous differences between each religion and different fundamental core beliefs.
Not morals, not difference in morals. The morality of the Torah and Jews, the morality of the gospel of Christ Jesus and Moses, and the morality of Islam and Muhammad. are all the same. Those laws, now the punishment of those laws may be different, but the morality laws are really still the same.
That seems very odd, because we have in all three of the religions that you've mentioned, you have incredible divisions in the sects and the denominations of those divisions. You also conveniently left out Buddhism, Zoroastrianism, and a bunch of other religions that apparently don't factor into your math because they don't share some commonality with the Old Testament and the Torah and the religious text of the Muslim faith. So when you talk about God, well, who gets to decide what God matters and which God's rules and who's talking to God? It's just another theocracy. And of course, we've seen theocracies, right? We see one going on in Iran right now where they're beating women to death because they don't want to wear a headscarf and they want to dance and sing songs. God forbid we have that type of insanity here. In fact, our founding fathers were very clear that there would not be an established religion. I'll refer you to the Anti-Establishment Act and that's the Constitution. Also, if you look back in Texas, Texas was very clear. All this under God that we see on dollar bills and in the Pledge of Allegiance and other things, that was added in the last century. In fact, America has always been very clear that it's a country built on religious freedom. And when people start talking about theocracies, it's because they have a very stunted view, because people have used religion as a vehicle to justify all kinds of evil since the beginning of man, because you refer to some unknown force in the sky which justifies you murdering people.
Charles,
well, of course,
let me say this to you.
Crusades.
America, founding fathers were men who were Christian at heart.
Well, most of them were deists. You should really read a book, Quanell, instead of making stuff up.
As a Muslim, the country America was founded under Christian principles. And as a Muslim, I have no problem with Christian principles because they're righteous principles. You say Buddhism and Zioism. Let me say something about Buddhism. It only means the principle that undergirds it really means one who has crossed over from darkness into light. All human beings should want to cross over from ignorance into knowledge. That's what it means. I have no problem with respecting all religions because the principles of Buddhism, the moral codes, are synonymous to those of Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. America never became a theocracy. Never has it been that. But it always, at the root, respected and honored the one creator, which is God to all of us, not some fake spook in the sky and sweep by and by when we die, like you try to say. I'm talking about a God that is sound on the ground while we're still around. You said some entity that don't exist. God is the father of all living human beings and creation itself. We need to bring God back into Texas. We've lost that, and that's why Texas is falling. You brought up Harris County and the voters of Harris County being diverse. Yes, but the majority of the voters in Texas are still white voters in Texas. And so if they allow the voters to determine succession, then the overwhelming voters voting on that idea and that law would be white voters, because the reflection of Harris County is not the reflection of demographics of the state of Texas.
Well, I don't agree with secession, but it's interesting to hear you disagree with the fundamental underpinnings of a democracy where people get to vote to decide things. And of course, it's a democracy limited by constitutional rights. And one of the basis building blocks of our Constitution is not having an established or defined religion. And you, of course, like to reduce it to whatever you want it to be. And of course, that's what happens in a theocracy. And you talk about the intolerance of Texans or the intolerance of Americans, but please try to go to Saudi Arabia and be an open, robust Christian, right? And then see if they're worried about your rights or concerns. Or why don't you go to Iran and try to be a Buddhist?
And those are theocracies. Those are theocracies.
And what you're talking about is making it Texas theocracy. Now, I completely agree. Like, we've heard all of these attacks on Governor DeSantis for years. Oh, the don't say gay and this and just last week, he brought out a book that he showed to journalists, which didn't get a lot of media play, which was literally cartoons on how to insert something, a butt plug, into an anus, like talking about lubricant and all these things.
And how do you feel about that?
It's insane that would be in a junior high or an elementary or even a high school.
Exactly. But that's because we live in a country now.
But you can have morality
no, we cannot, Charles.
Okay.
If we live in a country that says everything goes, Everybody got to be comfortable. Everybody got to be happy. Everybody's sexual expression and concept of it has to be accepted and applauded. Well, then you're going to have situations like that. We need to go back to the way we were when it came to moral principles and when it came to moral conduct in America. We don't have morals anymore, Charles.
Religious principles. So you have it in France, all right, where we've seen this incredible tide of economic migrants in the EU and an abandonment of certain French culture. And a French teacher had shown some pictures of Muhammad that upset some of the students, who then went and told someone else, and he got his head cut off. Just a month ago, a student brought the Muslim faith. He brought a book that had a scuff mark on it. It was an autistic student that was dared to bring the book to class, and then he got beaten senselessly because people don't believe you can have a robust discussion.
No, that was ignorance. That was ignorance, brother. That was ignorance.
But there are millions of people,
and that was some kids who set that poor kid up.
No, that's absolutely not true.
He was there to bring it, right?
You have tons of people who are religiously intolerant. And I don't want to focus on just the Muslim faith, because you have plenty of Christians who are religiously intolerant as well. But right now, in the world today, you see most of the violence based on religion being driven by one faith in one part of the world.
That's not true. That's not true.
Please tell me how it's not true.
That's not true.
Please.
When you look at majority of the violence
I'm talking religious
in the name of religion in America, it's not by Muslims.
Oh no, I agree. It's by Christians.
It's by Christians,
right?
And so,
but I'm talking. I didn't say America. I said the globe.
No, it depends. Whatever country has the predominant numbers of that religious faith in it, well, then they are the ones who set the religious laws and standards.
The West is far more welcoming to other religions than the Middle East is. Right?
I agree with you on that.
You're not going to go open your Christian church in Beirut or Tehran or Saudi Arabia. It's not going to happen.
But in Muslim countries, tell me what the child abduction rate is. In Muslim countries, tell me what the human smuggling rate is. In Muslim countries, tell me what the DWI, driving while intoxicated, killing innocent human beings, what that rate look like. So in Muslim countries, tell me what armed robbery, carjacking, and murder cases look like. In Muslim countries, show me where women are being raped and the rapists are not being held accountable. Because if you rape, and you're found guilty,
if you go to
they
Saudi
cut your head
Arabia
off.
or Iran, it's the rape victims who are often held to account, not the rapists, because women are treated.
In Islam,
that is absolutely not true.
Rape,
you want to argue about women being treated as equals?
I didn't say that. I did not say that.
Right, because you're just completely full of crap.
The criminal,
let's not have a justice system
that takes place in the West, that's plaguing every major city in America right now. You will not find that criminal activity in any Muslim country.
You're going to refer to countries that kill people for being gay, that don't have a criminal justice
I'm not saying
system.
that, brother.
Oh, well, no, you don't want to talk about that,
I'm
Quanell.
saying this.
You have women being stoned to death because their husbands allege them to be adulterers.
That's not
you
Islam.
have 9-year-olds being married. We don't want a theocracy. We don't want to. Well, it's
that is not Islam.
It's not your version of Islam, but it's millions of people's version of Islam.
Right here in America, you have Mormons that marry 9-year-olds.
I don't disagree.
Right here in America, you have Mormons that marry 10, 11-year-olds.
I don't disagree.
So what's happening in those countries is happening right here in America also.
It's not happening
what
very
I'm
often.
Saying
you can't compare America to say you can dishonestly.
America has its problems like every other nation. What I'm saying is that America
we don't have problems like Saudi Arabia or Iran.
America might want to adopt some of these punishments for crime like these Muslim countries.
But see, you're making my argument for me. I don't want to have a theocratic state. Like we started talking about secession. I believe in democracy. If the voters want to vote on it, I think it'd be a horrible idea.
And I disagree with that, because if the voters in this country were allowed to vote on slavery, we'd still be enslaved in this country.
Well, actually,
if the masses of the voters in America were allowed to vote on maintaining slavery, we'd have still had slavery in America.
Did you miss the whole part where a huge
So you can't put that on the voters. The masses of the voters never would have voted for integration in America had it not been for the Supreme Court.
Okay, again, you must have missed the whole part where a whole section of this country fought another section of this country to end slavery.
That's a lie.
Did you not think those were
That's
voters?
an outright lie.
Did you not think the
That's
voters?
a lie.
That, and of course, all the abolitionists.
That is a lie.
But there's also the thing called the United States Constitution that doesn't allow for those outcomes, even if the voters wanted to vote on it, because you can't let the bullies and the mob win.
And that's what it would be.
No. Well, you apparently you don't. So you want communism or socialism?
I didn't say that.
Or you just want to.
I'm saying that the
Quanell,
voters,
the king
the
of
masses
Texas,
of the voters,
and Quanell can decide
would vote for
what
something
we can
in
believe,
certain cases
who we can
that
have
does not
sex
benefit
with,
the nation
what we can
or live up
read,
to its
what we
constitution.
can watch. We'll just let you decide, Quanell.
No,
You'll be
I
the
don't want to do
dictator.
that, Charles. But what
You'll
I
be the
want to
king.
do, what I want to do,
And
Charles,
white
is
people
make-
better watch out.
Nah.
Quanell's in charge. We
No.
got a problem.
Let me tell white people something real
You're
quick.
always telling white
Let me
people
tell white
something.
people something
Y'all
right quick.
people.
Let me tell you
Y'all
something.
white people.
And let me tell black people something right quick. God is angry with both of us
Did you talk to him?
because
You talk to God?
we have rebelled against the will of God.
Okay.
America is dying internally, not from an external enemy. The internal rot and the internal decay and the disunity
Well, yeah, no, I
and
agree.
the
Biden's doing a
division
horrible
in
job.
America is pulling down this country. Biden is only a politician who's a career politician who does what politicians do. But the loss of the moral sense
I
of shame
hope most
and the
politicians
rebellion against the
don't
will of
send
God is
hundreds
pulling
of
this
millions
country
of dollars
down.
to their family members in the most corrupt way. I think we've had a horrible spate.
And we talk about Donald Trump.
I think Biden.
And we talk about Donald Trump.
I think Biden's done a bad job. I think Trump did a bad job. I think Obama did a
I
bad
disagree
job. I
with
think
you.
Bush has done a
I
bad job.
disagree with you.
I think they're all
I
doing
disagree
bad
with
jobs.
you.
But
Trump did not do a bad of a job as you trying to portray that he did. One thing about Donald Trump,
I just think they
and
all
I
have done a
disagree
bad
with that
job.
man. I disagree with that man on the majority of what he says. But one thing I have to give Donald Trump credit for, he was the first American president to do two things in my lifetime. One, he refused to take corporate dollars to run his campaign to become president.
That
He
turned out to not be
rejected their
true.
money. Two, something else he did. No matter how crazy his promises was to the American people, that man actually, when he won the election, tried to fulfill every promise he made to the voters of his constituency. Whether we agree with what he did or not, whether we like those promises or not, you have to give that man credit. He tried to fulfill them. He kept his word.
Well, see, I would disagree, right? I think like the whole story about not taking a paycheck was a lie. I have a lot of problems. He did do some good things. His criminal justice reform was not for his constituency.
And it was better than Obama's.
No, Obama didn't have any.
Exactly.
His criminal justice reform benefited people that weren't his constituents, benefited African American people in this country tremendously.
And nobody wants to say that.
Right. Well,
Because it's Donald Trump.
Well, because the media doesn't care. The media lies to everybody.
No,
The
because
media picks
many
a team.
black leaders won't say it because he's a Republican that did it and not a Democrat.
Right.
And what we as black folk got to understand, we cannot play the party politics when it comes to what's the best interest of our community. Whether we like Donald Trump or not, we have to admit the man did more for criminal justice reform than anybody else that had come before him.
Is America going to hell in a handbasket?
On a rocket ship.
Which would spur the desire by Texans to form their own government, their own nation, which I think is a bad idea. But I will say it has nothing to do, I mean, yeah, morality is getting pretty bad. We should address it. I think that it's
Crime,
an unfair
too.
characterization. But, crime's out of control.
Why you think the black man in Chicago got recalled?
Well, she didn't get recalled. She lost her primary, and she's out of election because she's an idiot and has always been an idiot. They promised to make
sent that
Chicago
woman
the
a message.
safest city in America and made it the most dangerous city in
And
America
then she tried
because
to
she's
turn
a liar.
around. Then she tried to turn around and she tried to lie. Our poor sister tried to lie and say that she lost because she's black and gay. That's a damn lie.
Actually,
because let me
she
say
didn't
this.
mention her gender. She said black and a woman.
No, she tried to mention her gender too in another speech here recently, just 2 days ago.
Okay.
But let me tell you why I disagree with that, Charles. Because if they unelected her because she was black and gay, they never would have elected you in the first place when you were black and gay.
I absolutely agree. I think that she did a horrible job. I think public safety matters. But the truth is why America's in the state it is with banks failing and all this horrible stuff going on is because our last four presidents have squandered trillions and trillions. What are we down? $31 trillion right now on warmongering in the Middle East, on foreign aid to countries that don't give a damn about us, and doing almost nothing for wage earning Americans, right? We don't have a solution to health care. Every time we're hearing a bailout, it's a bailout for corporations or it's a bailout for people that don't want to get off their ass and do any work. But those of us that get up and work every day, you know how much we get from our government? Not a damn thing. Biden next week, he's going to reduce the deficit by $3 trillion in 10 years. You know how he's going to do it? tax us more.
He's going to raise the deficit.
Take more money from those of us that are getting up and working. They're talking about taxing the billionaires, but that crap will never happen because they're all working for the billionaires. The Democrats are, the Republicans are. We are going to hell in a handbasket because no one's having an honest conversation. You blame white people for everything.
No,
we're talking about Texas.
Brother.
You're talking about whitey.
No, we are going to
you
hell
love
in
Trump
America.
sometimes, but you hate what
we're going to hell in America.
We're not God lovers about I'm a Christian man, but I don't want to push my faith on anybody else.
Let me say this,
I don't want a Christian
we
state.
Are going to hell
I want a
in
state
America
that gives a damn about people that work and go pay taxes every damn day.
We do not want to follow the will and the spirit of God in this country. And because we become so godless in America, I believe that God is removing his hedge of protection from this nation and allowing this nation to be turned over to its own reprobated thinking, and now you see the fall of America has been doomed and sealed.
The real
because we don't want to serve the one creator that made America, that allowed it to become the greatest nation on earth at one time, but we disrespected that blessing of God and turned this country to what it is.
Who have their private security, who don't give a damn. I mean, Lena Hidalgo, let's just talk about you. Why does Lena Hidalgo have round-the-clock security all the time? Every time a Democrat says, oh, you're saying words that make me unsafe, your words are dangerous, well, then they all get private security. But us regular people, well, we got to carry a gun or pepper spray or a knife or something, or just not go out at night because crime in Houston is out of control.
Disagree with you, Charles.
This whole city's going to crap because we don't have strong law enforcement. We don't have our tax money going to real solutions. We don't have health care for citizens.
Should have
you
security.
argued for an open border earlier in the week
every
because you
politician,
don't give a damn about American citizens.
Every politician should have round-the-clock security, and I think every politician should double their security because when the American people truly wake up to the con game that's been played on them by the American people.
If our police force is good enough for me and you,
it will make January 6th look like
else.
child's play. When black people, when Hispanic people, when poor white people, working class Americans wake up and realize what the politicians have done to this country,
y'all need to
they're
mark
going to need
this on
real
your
security.
calendar.
They're going to need real
wants
security.
Unity in America instead of more
if
division.
America, when
I
America
thought I would never hear this.
The working man and woman wake up and realize the con game that they've played on every American citizen, these politicians in D.C., they should need all kind of security when we wake up and realize what they've done to us.
At the end of the day, Quanell, if Texas votes to secede, I believe in democracy, and I would accept that. I think I would advocate against it, right?
Just as long as it's not a bunch of white boys that's sitting at the table making laws for Texas without some indigenous Indians, some Hispanics, some blacks, and people of color sitting at that table as an equal party. Because what we don't want is old white guys succeeding Texas from the Union, then old white guys making laws for Texas. Baby. Because we know what you'll do.
Quanell was all about unity for a second, but then he remembered he hates white men, so...
I didn't say that. I say them old white guys who want to take us back to the days of yesterday.
Well, which white guys are those?